Is he dead? Is he dead? Come on. Is he dead? We haven't heard from him for a while. Is he dead? Is he dead? Oh my god. Is he dead? Is he dead? Yes. That was Twitter. Or X if you prefer. For the large part of Labor Day weekend. So we'll talk about the rumors that swirled, what happened with that, and the fact that, yes, he is still with us. We'll go over that and a few things that relate to that. In other news, and probably our big news for the week, a 30,000 plus trove of Epstein documents are now available for the public to go through, and as we go through, we will sit and figure out what is actually in these documents, what is not in these documents, and the argument that goes with, because surprise, surprise, the White House doesn't want you to think too much about this, but we'll go over that and how this is allegedly splitting the Republican Party. The United States strikes a suspected drug vessel in the Caribbean before it can get drugs here, and I'm pretty positive that this is the beginning of the novel Clear and Present Danger. So if there is a certain deputy director of the CIA out there that was involved with this, then he should probably shore up the defenses around his house. If you know, then you know. And the drama over whether or not the federal government can federalize police in independent cities continues, as Pritzker may have won the Illinois battle, while Muriel Bowser has turned around and said, yes, federal troops, welcome in. Let's figure out what it is we can do to make you more comfortable. We have not as much as we usually have to go over here today, so this might not be the 7-hour slog that Contemporary typically has been in the wake of the Trump admin, but we'll go over everything that we have here. We'll get you out on your morning commute, and I am Henry VIII. I am Henry VIII. I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before. I am J. Edgar, and this is Contemporary. commuters and people who work in the afternoon as well. My name is Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Yes, we have a much, much shorter show, I think, than what we will usually have today, because I'm not going to lie, everyone actually took a break for the Labor Day holiday. Now, that doesn't mean we have no news, obviously, because, well, let's face it, politics has taken over the void that was filled when Hollywood started to suck. You know it, I know it, we all know it here. So that's what everybody wants to talk about. And I mean, we've all known this for a while, because politics is Hollywood for ugly people. As you can see with Gerald Nadler, who will be stepping down. We'll actually be talking about that in the tail end of the show. Other things that I like and things that I hate. Not necessarily about Nadler himself, because, well, people retire all the time, and Nadler, I'm not 100% sure how he himself has lived as long as he did. My man's got some health problems, man. And I'm not wishing anything against him. You'll understand why I'm making sure to bring that up as we move into our lead story after finance, because I want Nadler to have a long and healthy life. I want him to retire from his seat and go on and spend some time with his kids and his grandkids. Yeah, apparently he reproduced somewhere. I don't know. Money does some weird things, I guess. But I do want him to live a long and healthy life, and I do want some of these other dinosaurs in Congress to actually get out earlier than they do, so they can retire, spend time with their families, not just spend all their time in Washington, and live these long and healthy lives. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the rumor mill that has swirled throughout the entire Labor Day weekend. But yeah, we've got a bunch to go over here. We'll talk about Chicago and DC, because, I mean, we didn't get to that last week. There was no way. I sat down for 3 hours, first time out, and I got really, really hungry as we were going. Surprise, surprise. We'll talk about the beginning of and the plot of, I think it's Clear and Present Danger. Let me double check my own stuff on this one here. Clear and Present Danger. I don't want the film. I want the book. Yeah, that was. CIA analyst Jack Ryan is drawn to an illegal war fought by the U.S. government against a Colombian drug cartel. So, yeah, just basically transfer Colombia for Venezuela, and yes, that's the plot of Clear and Present Danger. So that's why we went through that in the beginning. If you don't read Clancy, you should. I had taken a break from reading over this past year with a lot of the commute that I had been doing back and forth, and then now trying to get everything moved. And I thought about it again over the weekend. My 40-hour-a-week job. I work from Friday through Monday, so, but yeah, a bit over the quote weekend that I have here, I did debate, you know what, maybe I should take up the novels again. I do want to get through all the Tom Clancy novels, the Jack Ryan novels at least, but like, I don't want to go through all the sub-series and stuff like that, but I want to see what the hype was all about and what they decided to make a bunch of movies about. And I do like that kind of media. So at some point go back into that, but yeah, I've read that one, and that's what we have going here. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Epstein stuff, because it's a week in 2025. Of course we're going to talk about the Epstein stuff. Yeah, and we've got Trump wants to mandate voter IDs. We'll talk about why he can't. There's just so much here. But we'll go over what we got, and we'll get through there. Before we get started, make sure yeah. I get tongue-tied occasionally still, but it's live. And this won't get edited out, by the way, when we go back and do the re-upload. Reminder for anybody who is new here, what you are seeing live right now is live, but the link that you clicked, if you're on YouTube, to bring you here, will not bring you back to the replay video. That gets privated as soon as we're off the air. I am making a concurrent recording of everything that we're doing right now. That will be re-uploaded in case we have a drop frame or something else like that while we're live, in case there's a problem with the live stream upload. I do a recording, I private the live stream, and I put the recording back up so you guys can go check that out in its cleanest form. Whatever comes across my computer sound card and video card is what you see there, so you can go back and check that out. Also, make sure you guys go check out Crimeland with Katie Zed. Go check that out. She does a great job. I've been slacking on my Crimeland with Katie Zed, the voice of Steven. Yes, Steven Ignoramus has rebranded himself. Go check him out as well. Being a little bit more Steven and less Ignoramus. And it's probably about high time for that because, you know, he started his channel saying that, you know, he chose the moniker Ignoramus because, well, he didn't know a bunch about politics and he wanted to learn by going through the news. Now he knows a lot more about this, and now he's more into Christian theology than he is about the political side of that. So I think that the shift is fitting for him, and I do hope he does well with that as well. Go check them out. They are great friends of the show. They're awesome. Starting to work up some guest list for Ed Talk coming up. That is some stuff going on as well. I did just make a reach out to Martha Bueno, but the person that had been reaching out before her actually had reached out to me as well. So that might be a collaboration one way or the other. We'll see what happens with that, where we go with this. Anyway, we got to get into the news. Let's get the live chat up here. See what we got going on here. Oh, we got a bunch of people going on here. Carnival Rancor VSJE 44DHQ. Tired of streaming to zero? Let's change that. Only at nejda.com. Remove the space, of course. Should we go click on that link? Should we do that? I don't know. Quest Fanning is here. Shared to X, thank you. Palm is here. Yeah, Palm got beat out by a bot, a robot. By the way, did we send our bot packing? I don't even know it's a bot. Let's not come out and say bot, but we will say, because you did that, you can sit and think about what you did for 5 minutes, and if you want to come back and have a real conversation, you are welcome. Absolutely. That wasn't a popular song. Yeah. Quest says he has been locked out of Discord for a few weeks. Well, if you figured it out, you're always welcome back. We love to have you over there. Quest says, ironically, the reason Hollywood sucks is because it became overtly political. I think that's a fair assessment, actually. I don't think that's the only reason, but I think that is a fair assessment of what happened. Let's see. Arthropods do reproduce, apparently. Deca says, I remember the Dookie area Green Day when they were really good. Then they turned political and they sucked. Boulevard for Broken Dreams was hit or miss, actually. Or, I'm sorry, American Idiot, rather, was a hit or miss album. But yes, it was overtly political, and the fact that they're still trying to use it now does make it really cringe, so I'll give you that. Quest says, the world is gray, Jack. All the tongue-tangled contemporary glory, yep. Palm says, Palm's going to be quiet for a while as she is feeding Ed Jr. Yeah, that's a bit of where we were late today based on the fact of, well, I was organizing everything, getting everything ready to go, and Ed Jr. started to squawk, and she got tired, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I fed Ed Jr., I fed her, and we laid down on the couch watching Stranger Things while I fed her, and I was out like a light. About 2 in the morning, I got up and washed all the bottle stuff, took the baby upstairs, and went to bed. We'll figure this out at another time. So that's why we started at 8, not 7. Quest Fanning says, I've only read a few Clancy books. Well, they're really good. I do recommend, especially, like I said, the Jack Ryan series. I have not done the sub-series. I tried. In fact, the sub-series is one of the things where I tried to do an audiobook for the first time. I'm not... You know, a lot of people would say, like, if you're really into reading and everything, and you're doing a lot of commuting, like I was when Pam and I first got together, going back and forth between where I lived and where she lived, which were about an hour apart, that would be the great time to get caught up on audiobooks. I cannot get anything out of audiobooks. I have tried Clancy books, I've tried high fantasy. I have like 5 books on Audible because I thought the same thing. When I was living in the Madison area, again, I had a half an hour to an hour commute because I moved around a couple times. But yeah, it was between a half an hour and an hour each time. Plus I was doing a lot of warehouse work, so I was in the back room by myself, not talking to customers a lot at the time. A lot of people would say that'd be the perfect time to get caught up on audiobooks. I can't get anything out of them. If you have a recommendation outside of Audible for audiobooks, because I love to read and I love to get this kind of stuff out of it. I love these stories. But I just can't do it. I can't. I think like if I sat down and listened to the audiobook for 12 Rules for Life, I could probably do it. Not because it's particularly Jordan Peterson, but because it's not a narrative story. It's the narrative when like they do the voice acting and then I hear the he said and the thought. I don't know what it is, but I find myself backing up way too much in the audiobook trying to hear what I'm doing again, and just it doesn't work for me. Yeah, I think I'm the same way, Decca. For like a nonfiction or a self-help, I think I could do it okay because that's more like a podcast. And I get stuff out of podcasts, I do. Commentary about a particular TV show or movie or video game, I get stuff out of that. It's just, yeah, the narrative process, I can't get anything out of it. All right, we spent enough time talking about audiobooks here today. Let's get started on the news for the day, shall we? Let's get my news scene up here. I did hit the record button this time, by the way. That is what led to our delay last week for the re-upload, is because I had to wait for it to process through YouTube and download it and trim off the place that I wanted to. Because it had been a month and I didn't hit the record button last week when I did the pod. All right, let's do this. Let's start, shall we? We did the live stream button. We didn't do the news, or I'm sorry, the record button. All right, we're going to start with finance today. Finance went on a bit of a roller coaster yesterday. It actually ended a little bit lower than it did on the previous close, but that was after clawing its way back from another large dip. The Dow ending at 45,271.23, where it started just a little bit above 45.3. So it's been a ride on that one. We'll see what happens with that and where that goes. This week, of course, being shortened by the Memorial Day weekend. But if you back it out to the 5-day to see where it was the last time we looked, it did drop off a cliff since the last time we talked on the 28th. So we're clawing our way back up. We're seeing what happens with that and where we go with that, with a few caveats that go there. Let's grab one from IBD. Dow Futures, Google, Apple, Tesla lead the market. NVIDIA, Palantir hit resistance from Ed Carson. Dow Futures edged lower early Thursday, while the S&P and the NASDAQ rose slightly. Credo Technologies, Salesforce, and recent IPO Figma headlined earnings after the close, with key economic data on tap Thursday morning. The stock market rally had a mixed session as Google parent Alphabet gapped up, while Apple cleared a buy point following a favorable antitrust ruling. Meanwhile, Tesla flashed an aggressive buy signal, though gains faded. But otherwise, it was a lackluster session. NVIDIA tried and failed again to regain the 50-day line. Palantir hit resistance and reversed below that key level. We had big news about Palantir for like a day while I was gone, because apparently they're going in and doing data brokerage for the Trump administration, and everybody freaked out about the fact that Palantir is going to have all your data, even though they really have all your data already. Let's see. Rocket Lab teased an entry and then dove. NVIDIA and Google are on the leaderboard, with Rocket Lab stock on the leaderboard watch list. Google stock is on the IBD 50. Credo is on the IBD Big Cap 20. Palantir is on the IBD sector leaders. On your futures, Dow futures lost a fraction versus fair value, with Salesforce stocks weighing on the Dow. The S&P climbed 0.2 and the Nasdaq rose 0.2. The 10-year Treasury yield dipped to 4.19 after retreating 6.5 basis points to 4.21 on Wednesday. So it's becoming less and less lucrative to go invest in the government. Crude oil futures fell 1% after sliding 2.5% to 63.97 a barrel on Wednesday, amid reports that OPEC will increase production yet again. So the global market's going to suffer, and it appears that we're doing the same thing that we did in 2020, where they put the squeeze onto Russia. I do want to look a little bit more into that before I come and put my foot in my mouth like this, but Saudi Arabia and the OPEC countries around there putting the squeeze on Russia by trying to drive down one of their key exports, which is on the global market. And the rest of us in the U.S. win when that happens. And I have been noticing that, yes, we have been having some reduced gas prices yet again, which is very nice. That is a thing that I like. Investors will get the ADP employment report at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time, weekly jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and ISM services index at 10. All appetizers to the main course. The jobs report on Friday, which we will not see that today. Let's look at the ADP and the jobless claims report very quickly. Jobless claims. ADP report. Yeah, the ADP report, according to ADP, hiring has slowed in August. Not surprising, actually, with school kids going back and a lot of tourism businesses closing. Although, being in August, I think it's a little bit early for that here. So that's something we do have to sit and watch as we go. And our jobless claims have risen at this point. Well, actually, no. I've got two different things. Kitco says jobless claims fall to 227, but Reuters says that they rise. Let's bring the Reuters one over here. Let's have a look at that. Okay, let's not bring the Reuters one over here because, well, they're paywalled. That one is one that I would actually have to archive too. Come back here. I guess let's do Bloombutt. Losing my cursor here. Okay, apparently we're not going to do Bloomberg either. What the crap? Market Watch, are you going to hold through with me? Jeez. There we go. Market Watch will save the day. Jobless claims rise to highest level since June, adding to concerns about the labor market. So, and I mean, we're not talking a large amount. This is in a quarter. From Greg Robb. The numbers. The number of people who applied for unemployment benefits in the 7 days ending August 30th rose by 8,000 to 237,000, the Labor Department said on Thursday. It's the highest level since late June. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had estimated new claims would rise by 2,000 to 231,000. The number of new claims based on actual filings, that is before seasonal adjustments, rose by 5791 to 196,999 in the latest week. There were 190,631 initial claims in the comparable week last year. The number of people already collecting unemployment in the week of August 23rd fell by 4,000 to 1.94 million people. The prior week's number was also revised lower, the government said. It has taken longer for laid-off workers to find new positions, and we are slowing down a little bit, unfortunately. Fed officials have been expressing increasing concerns about the health of the labor market, adding to a sense that the central bank will cut rates by 25 basis points later this month. Be nice to see a increase in small business applications after something like that. Will that actually happen right now? Well, we won't know until they drop the rate. I do think it will, by the way, if they do. But that is your finance report for the morning. With a little bit of struggle trying to get through everything else with that. Well, let's talk about the thing that's been weighing on everybody, where we go from that, and how we got there in the first place. You know it, I know it. It's in the air, especially you've been on X for a while. And you know Elon, he likes to feed you the things that would make you angry. I don't think he completely knows what to do with me. I'm not going to lie and beat around the bush. Because I tweet like I'm some big pro-Trump guy, or at least that's what the AI and the algorithm would probably think here. But really, realistically, I'm not impressed by the spending this time through. But I will never drop to the level of our friends on the left. You know what I'm talking about. He hasn't been heard from for 2 or 3 days. He had that mysterious bruise on his hand. Our chances of monetizing on YouTube go out the window by the moment of using copyrighted music. Yes, the rumor started spiraling almost immediately, about Friday, when they hadn't seen anything on Truth Social, that Trump had passed. I thought that Brave's ad blocker would prevent that crap. We've got an ad, but at least it's muted off of this. Yes, almost every major paid influencer account by the DNC on X for the last 3 days has been trying to tell us that the evil orange man has passed. They didn't see him. They didn't know what was happening. He had that funny looking bruise on his hand, and, well, he's not passed. Let's pause this here.
Over the weekend. How did you find out?
No, he has come back out and responded to this, which is the video that's playing in the foreground here. Of course, the Undertaker theme in the background I thought would be perfect. I hope the RRC is here to hear that too, by the way. Or at least he hears it on the replay. I know he'll appreciate this kind of stuff. No, he is not dead. I do feel like, I mean, they tried to do everything. Apparently, Melania Trump was standing outside of Walter Reed for some point for a while on Sunday. Sunday was the day I couldn't pay attention to most of it. It was end of month at my job, and I had a lot of stuff going on that day as well. And I was just happy to be home with my family when we did get finally back from that. Guys, if the president dies, especially with the way the news media is in our country, I mean, MSNBC is going to be jumping up and down and telling you that. I mean, I guess they were doing that when they suspected that he was passed, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be front page news across the world, and there's going to be a lot of people in Europe especially are going to be coming out and doing celebration off of this, but a lot of people in our own country as well. It's not going to be something that they can hide if this president dies in office. Now, I don't think that he's going to. And I do think that Walter Reed is going to come back out and tell us if there is something that we have to be concerned about. But they were doing all kinds of stupid crap for this. AI-generated Photoshop images showing a crease in the brow over here. I don't want to get too gross into this, but I picture when I saw a lot of this over on X, we haven't seen him in a couple days. What happened? Where is he? He's been missing. What's going on with that? A lot of them are. If you're listening to the audio platform, you might want to do earmuffs for this, even though I'm not going to say anything. The physical gesture that comes with this, you'll hear, but I think a lot of them were sitting around here going, is he dead? He's dead. Oh my god, he's dead. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. Which many of them are probably going to do when he does finally die. Anyway, Let's listen to the response to the online speculation that he passed away, being led, of course, by Peter Ducey. It's Ducey time.
Different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I
You didn't see that?
You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of...
I get a chuckle out of that, but that is the part of what maybe fueled some of the speculation and everything too, was, and I know, if you watch the air on X and you watch some of the comments in some of these posts that said that he's dead, he might be dead, oh my God, he's dead, oh my God, 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 oh my God. You had MAGA people in there claiming, well, we never, ever, ever wished anything well. We never wished a death on Biden at all. We thought that it might happen, but we never wished for it. Bullshit. Bullshit. Sorry if you had to go earmuffs for the kids on that one. But bullshit. You did. There's a reason that I went out and I prefaced everything when I talked about the health of politicians like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Gerald Nadler, for that matter, that I want them all to live a long, healthy life once they come back out of office. I want them to be voted out of office. I don't want them to be taken out on a stretcher. Because there were so many of you people out there that were saying that they wanted them dead. And you wanted to see horrible things happen to them. So, no, you can't hide behind your morality on this one at this point. I can. Because I didn't say that stuff about Biden. But to say that nobody in MAGA did that, no, that's not true. And then, yes, we will come back out and point out the fact that, yeah, Biden did not do a lot of news conferences in his time because, yes, as we all know at this point, his health was failing. Let's keep listening.
Shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, and I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own, pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I've been pretty active. I went out over to the club that I own.
Life-changing diagnosis. Let us come to you.
Go away, advertiser. F off. Do I have to go put an ad blocker on Brave? I thought that it came with an internal ad blocker. Anyway. I had to visit some people over in the club that I own over there. On the Potomac. Guys, I sometimes wanna. Decca, you'll get that joke. Everyone else is gonna be looking at their speaker confused. So yes, they have said that he has passed. Now, we've got one from NBC5 talking about a bit about this. Where's my cursor? I lost my cursor. From NPC5 Chicago, non-player character 5. President Trump dispels death rumors amid mounting health concerns. President Trump made his first public appearance this week on Tuesday, squashing death rumors that circulated over Labor Day weekend and led to speculation about his health on social media. After announcing U.S. Space Command is moving from Colorado to Huntsville, Trump took questions from reporters in the Oval Office, including one who asked, "How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead?" That is an interesting question, and I would love to have been a fly on the wall when somebody actually came out and did say that. At first, the president said he didn't see that, but then he said he heard the rumor saying, "It's sort of crazy. But last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful," the president said. "They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong." Trump said he was very active over the holiday weekend, sharing he visited a nearby golf club that he owns along the Potomac in Virginia. Apparently, when they made the announcement, they allegedly used footage from last June or something, when they showed that he was golfing at a golf club. I don't think that was true either. I think that they were just having hopium and copium at this point. I have an ad blocker for Chrome, by the way, Bong. Thank you for your input. I've got a really good one for Chrome, but it tips the ad blocker for YouTube, which is why I switched to Brave, because Brave blocks the ads on YouTube without having to have an external one. There's supposed to be an ad blocker built into Brave, which is why I'm confused as to why I was getting ads on CNN. But it does appear to be working on every other ad, because, I mean, you live in the area, close enough to Chicago to have seen websites like NBC5 Chicago. You know that this is usually plastered with more billboards than what you'd see on the side of I-94 between Kenosha and Racine. So it's working over here. It's just, yeah, it didn't take the ads out of the video for CNN for whatever reason. CIANN. Let's see. Trump is dead started trending on the social media platform X towards the beginning of the weekend, and within hours, roughly 160,000 posts using the phrase had been made. The president on Sunday addressed the speculation on Truth Social, responding to a post from DC Drano that stated Joe Biden would go multiple days at a time without any public appearances, and the media would just say he's sharp and at the top of his game. He is very sharp and then at the top of his game. By the way, you guys got trolled. Meanwhile, he was wearing diapers and napping. President Trump puts in more public hours than any other president in U.S. history, and the media freaks out if he disappears for 24 hours. Comical double standard. Well, I mean, a part of that is the fact that he does have a very, very high social media presence. So yes, if he does disappear for 24 hours, then something may possibly be up at that point. In response, Trump said, "Never felt better in my life. Also, DC is a crime-free zone. President DJT." Ed Jr. is insatiable. She's hungry. She's a hungry baby. Her feedings have been going a little bit more common lately, so we might have to up the volume. But if every time we do, then she doesn't finish it. So we're kind of in that balancing act right now. Rumors began to subside fairly early during the holiday weekend when the president was seen golfing with one of his granddaughters on Saturday. I don't like the spending, but I will have full admission on this one. I don't like the spending. I don't like the culture war stuff and things like that. Full admission, though, I do want to play a round of golf with the Donald. I do. I want to see what it's like. I want to see what he's like when he's not spending our children's futures into oblivion. Just to hang out with the dude, you know? But, yes, he is alive. Now, Slate is weighing in on why this became such an important thing. From Slate. You know what? We're going to see if we can archive this one, because it looks like we only get half of that one. We'll put it through. Archive, not today, because Slate is the worst. They're the absolute worst. I'm not a robot. Please select all squares with traffic lights. They're the worst. The captcha is the worst, and I just did one last night. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This page was last archived 20 hours ago. Hey look, now I can read the whole article without the paywall bullcrap. Trump's not dead, but that's not the point. Yes, our near octogenarian president is still alive, but the era won't last forever. Yesterday afternoon, Trump hosted a pool of reporters in the Oval Office to announce that the space operations of the U.S. would be located to Alabama. And more crucially, that the man was still alive. Trump, you see, was uncharacteristically absent from the public eye last week. The president wasn't available for press access on Wednesday or Thursday and didn't have any events scheduled through Labor Day weekend. So when an itinerary surfaced showing that Trump was slated to make an unspecified announcement, the country's most beleaguered resistors crossed their fingers and hoped for the best. Blue Sky and Twitter roiled with unsubstantiated speculation about the president's health. Had he suffered a massive heart attack? Was he about to resign? Would the address amount to Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance propping up the bloated corpse of the moldering incumbent Weekend at Bernie style? You know, all the stuff that MAGA used to say about Sleepy Joe. The answer to all those questions, of course, was no as far as Trump media gaggles go. This was pretty mild. He yucked it up with Tuberville, he bungled the minutiae of Alabama college football, and when he was asked about the death rumors, he shrugged it off saying, "I didn't see that, and it's sort of crazy." So I wanted to just skip ahead a little bit into this one and kind of tell you where Slate is going with this. You know, we don't have to sit here and say, oh, well, he's got droopy eyelids and a bruise on his hand or a surgery or... But let's talk a little bit about why Slate is beating off talking about this here. The whole spectacle possessed the energy of a nationwide role-playing session. Did anyone really believe the president was dead? Yes, I'm sure some of the hardcore conspiratorialists did, but the most common sentiment I detected from Democrats over the weekend was a devil-may-care resignation to the absurd. You follow a different set of people than I do, because that was indeed a lot of masturbation and a lot of hope in their eyes. Let's all agree the president's been permanently incapacitated for at least a couple days. A funnier notion found in more lefty corners of the electorate was that Trump might have suffered a reverse Fetterman stroke. That unlike the Pennsylvania senator, who seems to have become much more reactionary after his brush with death, a hypothetical Trump brain implosion might unlock the president's latent wokeness. Those on the audio platform did not see that. To me, it seems like the tacit admission that despite our best efforts, no one truly knows how to defeat MAGAdom. The movement has sealed its influence with a stunning popular vote. Guys, I hate to tell you this, but it's dead after 2028. Because the Bushites are already licking their chops to take the GOP back over and send us back into another century of war. If you're really that concerned about defeating MAGAdom, just wait a few years. And then you'll be sitting here complaining about the fact that the next Republican president is taking us into a war for Israel again. Because it'll be bad in your eyes again at that point. With a stunning popular vote victory and is firmly entrenched in the White House, his second term has already proved much more disastrous than the first. American democratic institutions are actively being degraded. In fact, the only way out of this mess, after all the efforts have failed, might very well be a sudden medical catastrophe. By the way, Slate did not capitalize the D for democratic institutions because they're not actually... institutions that were chosen by a majority plus one in America. They are institutions that are put in place by the corporate Democrats. So, capital D Democrat trademark. Ed Jr. is in the milk coma now. That is obviously a gosh outcome to root for, but it's not as if Magadum has any room to complain. I addressed that earlier. We're fresh off a 4-year cycle with Biden, replete with the exact same accusations. Body doubles, brain hemorrhages. He had that before he was president, by the way. Underexplained departures from public view. Ultimately, some of those charges proved true. Biden was old in ways that became only more visible as time marched onward. But he is no longer president, and all that lingering anxieties of the gerontocracy have been passed on to the new guy. Because this needs to be repeated as often as possible, Trump is also very old. He's turning 80 next year, and if not for Biden's macabre levels of out-to-lunch ineptitude, oh my god. You know, it used to be racist for saying that, by the way. At the tail end of his admin, society would be much more attuned to the fact that the president is miles more wobbly than he was during his first go-round in 2016. So, that's basically where Slate was coming from with this, was TLDR, even though we did just read it together, that we want to hope for the fact that Trump is dead because it's the only way that we can defeat Magadum. So, there it is. He's very much alive. And he will be for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to make a promise for the next 3 years, but for the foreseeable future, he's going to make it. And Slate is sad. Hey! It's a week in 2025. Let's talk about Epstein, you guys! Alright, from the USA Today to start with. First block of Epstein documents released by House. Epstein victims due to testify. This has been nuts. And this isn't even 24 hours old at this point, by the way. I think, actually, no, I think I'm wrong. I think it's a little bit over 24 hours old at this point. But we have gone from just a sudden drop. And I saw that the Epstein documents had dropped, but I know no details about this. I'm finding out about this at the same time as a lot of you guys are. So we're going to find out about this together. But then I also know that there was an absolute ton of the victims coming to testify out in front of Congress. For reasons I'm completely unsure of, because they've been able to testify and make their stories heard for the last 20 years. And they just seem to choose to do so now, once it's politically convenient. So I have questions about that. Mostly the timing, not necessarily the stuff that happened. This is from Francesca Chambers, Joey Garrison, Michael Loria, and Josh Meyer over at the USA Today. Put my cursor in the right window so I can scroll. The House Oversight Committee released thousands of pages of documents from the government's investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, who did not kill himself, as the fight over the disgraced financier and sex offenders files reignited after the lawmakers returned to Washington. In its first tranche of documents, the committee said it released 33,295 pages of files that it received from the Department of Justice. So now we're going to go have a big conversation on 4chan. Of what's real, what's not, what implicates a certain country in the Levant that we probably shouldn't say on YouTube because it's 4chan and the feds that are on there are going to try to make it all about that particular country in the Levant. But they'll go through it much faster than you can sit down and read 33,295 pages. Chairman Jim Comer issued a subpoena for the records related to the Epstein from the DOJ on August 5th after a bipartisan group of lawmakers on the panel voted in favor of the measure in July. Arbolt has joined us, by the way. Let's go back and check the live chat. Quest has nice music for the segment. Yeah, I thought that was fun. I loved The Undertaker back in the 90s on the WWF days before it was E. I did enjoy the American Badass version of The Undertaker, but the Goth Undertaker is still my favorite. Decca says, I hardly ever want it these days. I blame male menopause. Well, you should probably talk to your urologist about that one and not a guy who is reading the news on the internet. I could do Hank Hill voice, but I think Palm hates it. You know, how he gets when he gets uncomfortable about something like male menopause being brought up. Oh! Let's see. Vlog says, if you need an ad blocker, talk to me about it. I know which one you should use. We'll possibly get into that. Like I said, I thought Brave had one internal to it. That's why I was so surprised with the CNN stuff. Arbolt is, good morning all. What did I just walk into? Palm says, Ed Jr. is insatiable. Arbolt says, I'm just here for the smoky Trump voice. Oh, what did I do? Oh, Hank Hill voice, that's what. Alright. We're caught up. Let's talk more about Epstein. Democrats on committee say most documents aren't new. No, they're not. A lot of the stuff that we're going to see at this point is going to be just the rehash of the old stuff over and over again. The release of the initial batch of documents comes after Trump, once a close friend of Epstein. That's debatable, and you know it, USA Today has faced several weeks of criticism over the DOJ's refusal to release all the Epstein documents, which at this point I don't believe are actually there either. USA Today was unable to immediately verify independently how many of the records were new and had not been previously made public. Again, just take it to 4chan. It's anonymous. You don't even have to admit that you're from the USA Today. All you have to do, this might get me kicked off from YouTube. USA Today reporters, if you want to figure this out and figure out what's real and what's fake, go onto 4chan and say, hello fellow 4chan users, I too hate Jews. Please talk to me about Epstein documents. I swear I am one of you. They'll totally buy it. And they'll independently verify how many of them are real and how many are not. Totally. Yet the documents are unlikely to satisfy Democrats and other Trump critics who have demanded the DOJ disclose all documents in its possession from the government's Epstein investigation. Bobby Garcia, D. California, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, said 97% of the records released in the first tranche had already been made public previously. He said most are the same records Pam Bondi provided to right-wing influencers on February. The binders. Oh, the binders. That was hilarious still. Most of it's already in the public record, Garcia said. What we need right now is the full compliance with subpoena, and the AG, who once said all the Epstein files were on her desk, should release all the files immediately. Democrat Rep. Teresa Leger Fernandez of New Mexico, who sits on the committee, posted a screenshot of documents on X showing that some of the records received by the committee remain redacted. Which tells me, yes, there might be something going on as well with the idea that Epstein was working for a foreign government. That might actually be the reason that they're not releasing everything right now as well. Classified information and an operation going on with that. Ro Khanna, who is not a Bajoran and not related to Ro Lauren, by the way, or Ro Laren rather, not Ro Lauren. Another Democrat on the committee said the DOJ released only 1% of the government's Epstein files to the committee. The controversy over the Epstein files had tested the Trump admin's relationship with the president's MAGA base and frustrated the former businessman whose friendship with Epstein ended in the mid-2000s after Trump said the disgraced financier stole workers from him. No, that's not what happened either, USA Today. And that's common knowledge, by the way, to the USA Today. No, he tried to hit on underage girls and pick them up for his island at a Trump resort and got his behind thrown out on the curb. The DOJ turned over the files to lawmakers on August 22nd in response to the committee's subpoena. The same day, the DOJ released transcripts of interviews that the Deputy AG Todd Blanche conducted with Epstein's imprisoned former girlfriend and associate Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know how you actually pronounce that. It's just funnier to say Ghislaine. In which she absolves Trump of any wrongdoing. Maxwell was later transferred from a prison in Florida to a lower security facility in Texas. Comer, who, given the context of everything that we have here, actually probably has a very, very unfortunate name. Well, you can always hit that Prime subscription, and then your ads go away. Oh, am I still on? I am offline, guys. Hang on, we gotta figure out what's going on here. Because I'm losing frames left and right. Did I drop off? Or are we still going? YouTube is still showing me on the same stream. I am losing. I'm dropping off. I am losing connectivity here, you guys. I am fully offline. Everywhere. So, according to, and this is back for the replay actually, not necessarily for who's on. For everybody who is still on, yeah, we lost connectivity completely. It reset my drop frame, so we dropped a bunch of frames off of this. I am showing that I was offline for Twitch. And now I'm back online for 20 some seconds. We're gonna do the Spectrum dance again, apparently. I guess my project for next week is to get the cable rather rerouted throughout the house so I can put the router back in here so we can go back to be Cat 5 hardwired. Yay! That's actually not that hard of a project. I just need to get into the box and figure out which one goes where. So, not that worried about it, but now we actually have to take the time to do it because, yep, we completely disconnected from the internet.
When you've got smoke-free sound,
and there's an ad over on the music side. Wonderful. Wunderbar. All right, we're back. Alright, there are many records in the DOJ's custody, and that will take the DOJ time to produce all the records that ensure the identification of victims and any child sexual abuse material is redacted. Although I'm sure the Democrats want to see that part of it too. And it's totally not because they want to see that Trump was in it. No, that's totally the reason. Yeah, we lost everything there for a second, unfortunately. It's lame. Let's just double check where we're all back from at this point. How am I logged out of DLive? How did that happen? I could open the chest for people on D-Live, which is Arvel, by the way. I am still dropping. Yes, I am dropping frames. Holy crap. That's great. We gotta go do the Spectrum dance again. Alright. Anyway, we'll figure that out as we go. I thought I had that all fixed. It's Spectrum, I swear to God. When we had Astria, we didn't have this problem. I guess we'll talk to them over on X and see what happened with that. So full disclosure, since we're in the midst of this and we dropped a bunch of stuff, my wireless connection actually has been dropping itself. Like, we've been sitting watching TV and it just completely disappears. So I don't know what's happening with that, but the 6 months that we had Astria before they got bought out, we didn't have this problem. Alright. Again, back to where we were. I'm sure this will be awesome listening for the audio platform, the audio platform and the re-upload. And this is staying in, by the way. That is one of my favorite songs on this playlist. They call it Leaving the Body. It's from Chrono Cross. But if you look up Leaving the Body, like the original version, that's not in it. So this is a remix by DJ Cutman. Alright. While we're leaving the body, let's keep going. Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger are both on my 2 playlists for once we get back to game streaming, by the way. Never played those ones. The committee also issued subpoenas for deposition for former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and former top federal law enforcement officials including Comey, Lynch, Holder, Garland, Mueller, Barr, Sessions, and Alberto Gonzales. I didn't put first names in most of those because we know who most of those people are, but Alberto Gonzales, that name I'm not familiar with. Epstein died in a New York prison on August 2019. New York's chief medical examiner ruled Epstein died by suicide, a conclusion the FBI and DOJ this year said it supports, because of course they do. The release of Epstein documents comes amid a push led by lawmakers to mandate the release of all files related to the case. Khanna and Thomas Massie are leading efforts to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which would compel the U.S. AG to release in a searchable format all DOJ files related to Epstein. That might be dangerous, again, given certain proclivities of people who are going to be looking through these files. Massey introduced the bill on July 15th and was referred to the House Committee on Rules according to Congress.gov, a website for tracking legislation before Congress. With all 212 Democrats backing the effort and only 6 Republicans need to sign on, Khanna said on NBC's Meet the Depressed with Kristen Welker. So, I have not gone through these documents. We've had a fairly busy weekend for me, so there's been no chance for me to do so. I wanted to see what is out there. Again, most of this is stuff that we already have, so it's all but useless at this point. But it got the ball rolling. Skip this one from ABC as well. From NPC News, Jeffrey Epstein accusers urge Trump to release all the case files and rule out a Ghislaine Maxwell pardon. I would like to rule that out as well. Again, I could be convinced to see a Ghislaine Maxwell pardon, but I would need to see some evidence that the pardon comes on the fact that she was aiding a federal investigation into child trafficking, which I think that there is at least a 20% shot that's part of the reason that none of these files have been released, is that Epstein was an asset and was investigating something. This is from Eric Ortiz, Hallie Jackson, and Chloe Atkins. 6 women who say they were trafficked by Epstein or convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell shared a unified message Tuesday as they implored the federal government to release more documents related to the case and urged Trump to pledge he won't pardon Maxwell. Epstein was a master manipulator, said Jess Michaels, who alleges the late financier raped her in '91 when she was a 22-year-old professional dancer. That was a strategy that was honed. That was a strategy that no young woman, no teenage girl had a chance. Not a chance against his psychopathic skills. Best viewers on streamboo.com, remove the space. Hell yes, I would love to have best viewers. I'll let one of my mighty mods get that one. NPC News brought together a panel of women who included accusers and 3 relatives of Virginia Giuffre, a prominent Epstein and Maxwell accuser who died by not suicide in April. While all but one of the women have spoken publicly over the years about the abuse they say Epstein perpetrated before his death, the conversation Tuesday comes at a pivotal moment when Democrats and some Republicans in Congress renew a push to make all investigative files related to him public. Tuesday evening, the Republican-led House Oversight Committee released more than 33,000 pages of files related to Epstein. The other accusers, Wendy Avis, Marichki Chartouni, Jenna-Lisa Jones, Lisa Phillips, and Liz Stein, say they'd like for documents to be released, which Trump first indicated on the campaign trail he would do to hold as many people in Epstein's circle who also engaged in criminal activity accountable. I'm coming here because there's been a severe miscarriage of justice, a delay in accountability, Michael said. Jones alleges when she met Epstein when she was 14 in the early 2000s and was paid to give him a massage during which he fondled her after she undressed. A lot of these powerful people think that they're in the clear and they're probably still doing it now, she said on Tuesday. Well, drop the names. Like, seriously, fully, drop the names. Banhammer. There were many, many adults around Epstein's properties that may not have participated, but very clearly knew what was going on, Jones said. And they're not saying anything. Why are they still not saying anything and speaking up on our behalf? Avis, who hadn't previously come forward publicly, said she was inspired by Jones. Both women say they had interactions with Epstein at his Florida mansion, and Avis said she was 14 in the early 2000s when he abused her. Not everyone is getting justice, and that's not right, Avis said, adding that the everyday person is out there, and that's me, and we're victims. So, and again, I would like to see, for myself, the documents get released and the names of the powerful people be put out there. Yes, even if it burns down our entire political, banking, and entertainment system, number one, and then number two, no, that's the only thing that I have off that, even if. I don't want any exceptions, I want it out there. As I said before, the big problem that may be with this is I do think that there is a chance that Epstein was a government asset. And possibly was in the midst of an investigation. He might be in the witness protection program, for all we know, and that's why he, quote, died. I don't think that's the case, but I think there's a 20 to 30% chance that it is. I'm fairly convinced in the actual narrative that Epstein was a pervert and just doing this because it could get him blackmail and influence. Alright, let's keep going. From our friends over at NPR, Epstein survivors join with lawmakers in calling for full release of government files. We'll go briefly on this one because most of this was discussed in the NPC article. But remember, hit that donate button because NPR does not get the ad revenue from people who have ad blockers and is only 10% government funded. So they need your donation to continue to tell you that Donald Trump is totally implicated in the Epstein files, even though we've never seen them. So hit that donate button. NPR is never printing reality. National Progressive Radio. Let's see what it is they have to say. This is from Elaine Moore. Women who say they were victimized by Epstein stood with a bipartisan group of House members on Wednesday demanding additional transparency into the federal investigation of the convicted sex offender and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. In an emotional press conference outside the U.S. Capitol, the Epstein survivors voiced support for an effort led by Khanna and Massey to force a House vote that would require the DOJ to release its records in full, with redactions to protect information about victims in ongoing investigations. And again, I would like to see them redact also the little kid private parts, because there are some perverts on Capitol Hill who are going to use that for the wrong thing. To be clear, the only motive for opposing this bill would be to conceal wrongdoing, said one of the survivors, Anuska de Georgiou. You have a choice: stand for the truth or with the lies that have protected predators for decades. Or again, and I say this is only as a 20% likelihood, it's not just to conceal wrongdoing, it's to conceal people who are working with the government to try to bring down wrongdoing. That is a possibility, however slim. De Georgiou has said she was abused by Epstein when she was just a teenager. She was one of 8 survivors who spoke on Wednesday, sharing painful memories of abuse that they suffered and the emotional scars it left them with. Marina Lacerda. No, my next concert is not going to be at NPR, I promise you. Said she was speaking publicly for the first time. She was 14 when she first met Jeffrey. They have documents with my name on them that were confiscated from Epstein's house that could help me put the pieces of my own life back together, she said. Today, as you can see, we're united in restoring trust in the government. We're here not as partisans, we're here as patriots, Khanna said. Standing alongside the survivors, we will begin the work of bringing the country together, progressives, independents, and moderates, and yes, MAGA supporters, to demand truth and justice. The survivors spoke as lawmakers in Congress are confronting how much information the government's investigation into Epstein should be made public. The House Oversight Committee had already subpoenaed the DOJ for records related to the investigation, and on Tuesday released an initial tranche of more than 30,000 documents. But wait, there's still more. Accusers say they're compiling their own list of his associates from the BBC. Ali Abbas Ahmadi, reporting for our friends from across the pond. Victims of Epstein have shared emotional accounts of abuse as they spoke on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and called for lawmakers to release more files about the convicted sex offender. I'm dropping frames still. This is wonderful. Thank you, Spectrum. One of the women, Lisa Phillips, said the group had begun compiling a confidential list of Epstein associates who they say were involved in abuse. We will confidentially compile all the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world, she said. It will be done by survivors and for survivors. The event was organized by U.S. lawmakers who are calling for more files from the Epstein investigation to be released publicly. During the 2-hour news conference on Wednesday, 9 female Epstein accusers detailed their experiences and abuse at the hands of the disgraced financier. Ms. Phillips urged the DOJ to release all the documents and information it has from the investigation, adding that many victims were afraid of repercussions if they went public with the names themselves. A lawyer for the accusers added they were scared of being sued or attacked because nobody protected them the first time. We heard about Marina Lacerda already. Liz Stein, who sued Epstein and Maxwell, who now works as a survivor mentor and policy advisor, told the BBC she spoke at the Capitol rally to humanize survivors because she was tired of them being ignored. It's really important for all of us to remember that this is a crime. It's a crime of sex trafficking. This isn't a political issue, but it's being politicized because the people involved, Ms. Stein said. Ann Farmer, 46, said at the rally she was taken to New Mexico, age 16, to spend the weekend with Epstein. Her sister was also flown there and reported the abuse. She said, but nothing was done. We still do not know why that report wasn't properly investigated or why Epstein and his associates were allowed to harm hundreds, if not thousands, of other girls and young women, she said. Shantae Davies addressed a question about the relationship between Trump and Epstein, saying the offender's biggest brag forever was that he was good friends with Donald Trump. Which, by the way, that wasn't a frame drop. That was a complete disconnection, by the way. Yeah, we got to figure this out because we can't keep doing this. We can't keep running at 200 kilobytes per second. We're going to ask the question as soon as I'm off air. Why does your crap not work? No, broadcast is still here. Oh, this is going to be fun if we have to go back and do this again. But yeah, I guess this is going to be the kick in the pants to go get this fixed. God damn it. Excuse my language for those of you who have kids in the car when I curse like that. Alright, let's keep going. Yeah, I know. If I wasn't so used to this, I'd actually be frustrated with this, but that's part of the reason that everything got hardwired before I moved west. Because this kept happening, just like this. But the saddest part is with the other internet company, it never happened once, ever. We never dropped a frame with the other internet company. Anyway, going back to where we were on that. Yeah, I already heard one person say because of the fact that Epstein said that he was friends with Trump, that means that, well, one of the victims named Trump. That means it's over for him. Oh my God, it's over for him. Yeah, we had that actually happen the other day. But during the NBC panel discussion with a group of survivors on Tuesday, none of the women said they ever saw or heard of Trump doing anything inappropriate relating to Epstein. Quest is going to take off to help Franny with her fixed tablet and new laptop. I have a used laptop, actually, that I just switched over to Linux and actually seems to be working pretty well. There is a learning curve with Linux that I have to go back and figure out. And this rig here is probably never going to turn to Linux. based on the fact that I would lose everything in my hard drive to do so, but I would like to build a stream rig now, more powerful, because this one is already about 5 years old, and run Linux this time through instead of running Windows, because I do like it, what little bit I've used it. Trump was friendly with Epstein, but said that they fell out in the early 2000s because the financier poached employees from the spa at Trump's Florida Golf Club. This was a Democrat hoax that never ends, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office on Wednesday when he was asked about the nearby news conference. He said, "Nobody's ever satisfied with the files that have been released," adding that the issue is a distraction from his record in office. I'd like to see the list of names. I would like to see an actual open record onto whether or not there was an investigation going on into other stuff at this point. Yeah, I do have Ubuntu on my laptop, which if I build a new rig, that's what's going to be on my stream rig as well, would be Ubuntu. I like it. It's nice. It's very nice. Marjorie Taylor Greene has joined on the side of the victims on this one here with video of her at the news conference. Let's listen. I love how they say Trump loyalist. No, this is again the person who was planted in Congress to act like a MAGA person to make them look bad. I'm not convinced that she's not a Democrat.
Mesothelioma is a life-changing diagnosis.
Oh, advertisement.
Let us come to you.
I guess we'll have to wait for that one. That's good to know now, though. Because, again, we haven't had this from CNN.com for a while. I can't imagine using vanilla Linux. I've done it before, but it's been 20 years. The engineering program at the UW school that I went to had a required semester of Linux. So I have used it.
Courageous women. The shame falls on every single person that coldly turned a blind eye to their abuse. The shame falls on every single person that enabled it. The shame falls on every single person that took money to continue it. And the shame falls on the people in power over the past several decades that protected the monster, Jeffrey Epstein, and his cabal that continued a nightmare. Those people deserve the shame. And today we are coming forward and we are going to fight like hell for these women, because we have to fight like hell for those that are enduring sexual abuse and are living in a prison of shame. Anyone that is being abused, it is not your fault. You should live with no guilt or fear or shame. All of the fault belongs to the evil people that do these things to the innocent. This is the most important fight we can wage here in Congress, is fighting for innocent people that never receive justice. And the women behind me have never received justice. And do you want to know why? It's because Jeffrey Epstein somehow was able to walk among the most rich, powerful people, not only in America, but foreign countries. Yesterday, I heard countries like Saudi Arabia, Russia, and even Israel, and other countries. The truth needs to come out. and the government holds the truth. The cases that are sealed hold the truth. Jeffrey Epstein's estate holds the truth. The FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA holds the truth. And the truth we're demanding come out on behalf of these women, but also as a strong message to every innocent child, teenager, woman, and man that is being held captive in abuse. This should never happen in America, and it should never be a political issue that divides us. And I want to thank Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie for doing something brave, crossing political boundaries for a very important fight. And I'm honored to join both of them. And I'm honored that Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert signed the discharge petition along with myself. And I asked my Republican colleagues not to choose just one path for justice and transparency and accountability, but I asked my Republican colleagues to choose every path for justice and accountability and transparency.
Seeking.
All right, get rid of that. So, and realistically, I'm on Green's side on this, and I don't say that very often, admittedly, because, well, I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's a Democrat plant, but yeah, if there's something there and it's not in the midst of an ongoing investigation, that would be the only caveat that I would put with that. Then yes, this all needs to be open, released. Again, let's not get the kiddie adult material. But other than that, let's get it out there and let's let the system burn. All right, Spectrum, this is ridiculous, by the way. Axios reporting on the splintering of MAGA. MAGA splinters as Epstein fight returns to Congress from Tal Axelrod. Congress returns from recess this week with Epstein fight back in the spotlight. This time, though, Trump's supporters are divided over how much they still care about the government's files on the late sex offender, and the admin's reluctance to tell all. MAGA's response to a fresh Epstein news cycle could either cement a playbook for healing rifts with Trump or trigger another meltdown that derails the GOP's fall agenda. If the scandal fades, it will show even sharp breaks with Trump within the movement can be patched over when bigger fights emerge. If it explodes again, Republicans risk losing control of their end-of-year priorities, from government funding to a new crime bill. Massie and Khanna are seeking to force a House vote mandating the full release of the DOJ's documents on Epstein. We know that. The House Oversight Committee released a tranche of 33,000 documents. We know that. But Massie also told Axios the batch looks like a bunch of redacted documents and nothing new, so it's not going to suffice. So we'll see what happens with that. And Trump himself weighing back in on this. Trump calls Epstein files irrelevant as Massie petition picks up steam. From Lauren Peller and Jay O'Brien and John Parkinson. Trump on Wednesday cast the Epstein controversy as irrelevant amid an effort on Capitol Hill to force a vote to release all the files related to the deceased offender. This is a Democrat hoax that never ends, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office when asked about the push for more transparency in the matter. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democratic hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success we've had as a nation since I've been your favorite president. The comments came as a group of survivors joined House members in a push to compel the DOJ to release the records so far withheld from Congress. Now see, and that reaction right there is what gives me the 20% that this could be an actual ongoing investigation. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible. And that's why they're not coming out and releasing stuff. Smart money is on the fact that there's somebody in the documents that they don't want their name to come out. But there's that 20% chance that it actually is an ongoing investigation that they don't want to spoil by bringing this out here. All right. We have done Epstein well, hold on, we're dropping frames again. You know what the worst part is we had a great stream last week. But I'm going to tell you right off the bat, with the percentage climbing and the fact that we're dropping frames, especially with this being in the recording and the live stream going and being privated, this might be the point that we call it. Just based on the fact that, you know, this is not the quality of show that you guys deserve. Do check out the replay. Yeah, we're going to call it at that point, if it's just going to keep doing this. And our friends at Spectrum are going to give us a call. I'm going to wait to see if it balances back out, which I hope that it does. Yeah, it balanced back out. Our frame drop it's still going. I can't even show you the screen without showing you what, well, there's a way to do it, but yeah, for right now, we got the Epstein stuff out of the way, but for right now, we actually are going to call this stream based on the fact that our internet provider can't get its crap together. So let's go back and do the change right off the bat. So a reminder on this will be available back on a replay. I took a recording off of this, so you're not going to get the frame drops. You're not going to get any of the rest of this. For right now, the video is going to be unlisted, so I can show it to Spectrum and say, hey, do something about this. But it will go back to private as well. The live stream upload, I'm sorry, the regular upload will be coming out later this week. Let's get the outro music up. Let's do that. Where are you? We've had power outages too, so we lose some of that stuff. All right, well, thank you everybody who did stick around through the tumultuous stuff that we had here. As I mentioned, the replay will be back up without the frame drops on this. That's why I take the recording, so that we avoid all of the fun little frame drops that come with this. But we'll be back here next week to talk hopefully about Chicago and DC, because, well, things have come up and we haven't been able to do that yet at this point. But we'll be back here next week for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary, hopefully with a better frame rate, because Spectrum, get your crap together here. Let's do something different. And who knows, maybe the Palms computer next to me will also be hardwired at this point here. But thank you guys so much for coming in and talking Epstein with me and enjoying the Trump Smoky voice. We'll be back. Take care. Have a wonderful afternoon. And we will see you here next time for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. Take care. Have a great week. Have a great weekend, because it's most of you guys' weekend for that. And we'll see you here next time for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.